Over the past 3 years, we have strived to do all that God has called us to do. But we have seen Crosspoint's resources slowly dwindle, both our financial resources as well as our people resources. We've seen God do some amazing things in our church and in the lives of people. And let me tell you guys, we still see that happening. And we're grateful to be a part of that, but our resources are simply draining too quickly to keep it going. We as elders have prayed long and hard about this. We believe that it is time to close the doors of Crosspoint Christian Church. Crosspoint's last service will be June 5th in 2 weeks. We understand that for some of you this is very surprising and shocking. And so we want to clarify a few things about this very difficult decision. First, we want to be clear that Crosspoint's not closing its doors due to any conflicts or issues of sin for any of the leadership, including our pastors and elders. Unfortunately, as Pastor Steve and the elders have been meeting in recent months, it has become clear that Crosspoint simply cannot sustain our vision and direction any longer. There are many factors involved in this decision, but these are two big ones that have brought us to this very difficult conclusion. The first one is a financial decision. In the past few years, we've significantly reduced our operating expenses to meet the financial shortfalls. And while many have grown in their giving, and God has done some very awesome things in people's hearts through that, our current financial status is just unable to sustain our church. As elders, we've not been able to honor our pastor by providing appropriate resources or workspace. As a church, we've not been able to continue supporting the tireless missionaries that we've supported over the years who carry God's word across the globe. And as leaders, we've not been able to provide the resources, the training, the support for you, the people that serve here, so well each week. As a church, however, we're fortunate that we have had a savings account built up to help us these past few years. Our savings have allowed us to close the doors of this church with no church debt, and even with the ability to provide for our pastor as we send him on to his new ministry location, whatever that is. Our decision to close, though, was not based solely or primarily on our finances. We recognize and believe that God's power and sovereignty is over all things, including money. The second main reason why we feel like this is the time is our leadership and servers have become spread far too thin and worn out over the past few years. Our serving needs have just become far greater than our resources allow. Many of us are carrying heavy loads, serving loads that have been sustainable for a short sprint time, but has become unhealthy and spiritually, it's unhealthy spiritually and emotionally for many of us. Steve and the elders have sought out God's direction and wisdom with great earnest the past several months, seeking God's will for the local body here at Crosspoint. We discussed and examined many possible alternatives or shifts in how our church works, but none are feasible or sustainable for us. Rather than allow Crosspoint to dwindle and end poorly, we feel called and led by God to end our local church well and help every Crosspointer find a great new church home to worship and to join Christ where he is in his work. Because of this, we will have our last church service on June 5th, followed by on Saturday, June 11th, we will have a celebration picnic just to celebrate what God's done here at Crosspoint for the many years. While each of us are saddened in this chapter of Crosspoint closing, we want to spend the next 2 Sundays celebrating what God has done and is continuing to do right here in this place. And we ask that all of us make it a priority to be here the next 2 Sundays as much as you're able as we end our church well. We're thankful for all that God is doing in your lives and are confident that God will continue to work in each of you and through each of you. We feel truly blessed to be a part of this body. As leaders, we're thankful to God for what he has done and is doing in the lives of Crosspointers, including ourselves and our families. We're thankful to each and every one of you here today, and we're looking forward to continuing our friendship through Christ, regardless of where we may end up on Sunday mornings. Ecclesiastes 3 is what it says. There's a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. It goes on to say there's a time to be born and a time to die. There's a time to weep, time to laugh, time to mourn. There's a time to dance. There's a time for Crosspointe to thrive in its ministry, and there's also a time for those doors to close. And this is at that time. Although the season of change will be hard, we know and trust that God has great things for each of you as you continue to pursue Him. We understand that there are probably several questions that many of you will have today. The elders and Steve will remain here after the service to talk with anyone who has questions or would just like to talk. And we're also available the next couple weeks, however long you need, to ask us questions. We're not going to have a question answer time here, but we're not hiding anything. So please, if you have questions or concerns or agrees or want to slap us, please come. Seriously, come talk to us. We don't want unending or open. You know what I'm talking about. This is not, that was a letter that was written, and this letter will be out on the front table. If you'd like to take it and read it for yourself and process it for yourself. It's a little piece of perspective that's not in the letter that I just wanted to share. I was thinking of praying this morning. Crosspointe has been a tool in the Master's hand. And for many of us, He has used it to whittle and shape us into what we are right now. Just like any carpenter or any worksman, he has many tools. And this tool was to bring you to where you are today. The tool, he's placing it down on the workbench, but he's picking up another tool. And that same workman who has crafted you with this tool will continue to craft